Thank you and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first thank Penguin and the Habitat Center for having organized this and having invited me to talk about this particular project. As was said, this is meant to be an interactive session. So what I do not intend to do is to bore you with a very long talk on the Mahabharata, which all of us are familiar with. Instead, I will probably speak for about 20 or 25 minutes, and then let's have that interactive session. Firstly, on the Mahabharata. Whenever people meet this strange character who pretends to be an economist but is doing this bizarre thing of translating the Mahabharata, I get two kinds of reactions. The first is, why are you doing it? Aren't there plenty of versions of the Mahabharata floating around? And the second reaction I encounter is that people sometimes do not realize the size of the Mahabharata. According to popular belief, the Mahabharata is supposed to have 100,000 shlokas. There is, of course, the Ramayana, and the sections of the Ramayana, as everyone present here knows, they are called Kanda. The sections of the Mahabharata are called Parva. Both Kanda and Parva, they mean branch. However, Kanda suggests a little bit of solidity or more solidity than Parva. Parva tends to suggest something that is more pliable. If one is talking about the Ramayana, there is of course the first Ramayana, which is the Valmiki Ramayana. And whenever people were unhappy with whatever Valmiki said, I'll generalize a bit, but whenever people were unhappy with whatever Valmiki said in his Ramayana, they went ahead and composed another Ramayana. The Mahabharata is not like that. The Mahabharata assimilated all the various versions that were floating around and ascribed all of them to Krishna, the Vedaya and Veda Vyasa. The net result of all of this was that we had about 1,200 different versions of the Mahabharata floating around. In the country, there were about 1,200 different versions of the Mahabharata floating around. Not all of which were equally important, but nonetheless there were these 1,200 different versions. In the year 1916, the Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute undertook a mammoth project. And under this mammoth project, undertaken under the supervision of a succession of scholars, the idea was to collate and sift through all of these 1,200 different versions and try and figure out to the extent possible what can be called the authentic text of the Mahabharata, if such a term at all makes any sense. The Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute did this over a period of 50 years. So this project began in 1916 and ended in 1966. This particular Sanskrit version of the Mahabharata is called the critical edition. This translation that is being done is on the basis of the critical edition. I began by saying that there are 100,000 shlokas in the Mahabharata on the basis of popular perception. If you sit down with the critical edition of the Mahabharata, you don't exactly have 100,000 shlokas, you have about 85,000 shlokas. These 85,000 shlokas convert into about 2 million words. So that's, given 10 volumes, that's 200,000 words, not 150,000, it's more like 200,000. It's about 200,000 words per volume. Now 2 million words is a hell of a lot. So it gives you an idea of how mammoth the Mahabharata